When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Clearly in Matthew 25, as Jesus is describing our judgment, we get to see him fully for the first time. And we've all got that appointment, every single one of us, that there's only going to be two groups of people. You're either saved or you're lost. We talked, I think, earlier or in 2020 about labels and people avoiding labels. Everybody's trying to walk around acting like they're these independent thinkers. They reject labels. And usually when you hear someone talk like that, you know they've been self-deceived. Labels are on you, whether you accept them or not sometimes. You don't always accept the world's labels. But when the Bible labels you, you're labeled. You're either a sheep or a goat. You're either saved or you're lost. You're either headed for righteousness or you're headed for damnation. You're under one of those categories. And Jesus is not someone to hold back the plain, direct truth from you. If you're the sheep, you're going to end up in one place. And if you're a goat, you're going to end up in another place. And we all know what those two places are. And you hear a lot of people making jokes about sheep and sheeple, sheep or herd thinking that's going on now. The Bible's version of a sheep is not the same as the world's version of a sheep. The world's version of a sheep is so simple and never thinks for himself. The Bible version of a sheep, a proper sheep, a sheep that's following the real shepherd, is not simple in that way. He or she has assurance of his or her salvation. He studied to show himself approved. He has questioned the Lord. He hasn't just gone into the faith, ideally, with no consideration and blindly just following what somebody behind a pulpit said or on a TV show said. They've gotten to the Bible themselves. They've gotten down in prayer before the Lord themselves and got what they needed in terms of beginning or continuing in the faith. Now that's a sheep that Jesus is pleased with. And that's, according to the Bible, not going to be a large percentage of people. And we already know that Satan knows about this whole sheep and goats thing. He has over centuries, since men and women have been here probably, used the goat image, knowing that the goats are going to be the rejected people of the earth. And so the goat is a symbol of evil and wickedness in a lot of ways in our world. Not necessarily that a goat, the animal, is wrong or bad, but it's just the imagery of the way that it's been used. It's a twisting, I believe, of a lot of the ceremonial laws, the sacrificing of animals, of goats specifically, and it's been turned into something else by Satan using people. So when people are now always talking about GOAT, G-O-A-T, greatest of all time, and all these kind of things, there's a reason that everybody's talking about GOAT, the GOAT of the NBA, the GOAT three-point shooter. He's the GOAT carpenter. He's the GOAT mechanic. He's the GOAT comedian. Like, they've got all these GOATs. Everybody's got GOAT coming out of their speech now. The GOAT of everything. Why? Because the time is getting short, and that GOAT image, like the one you see on the front of a Ram pickup truck, front or rear, they make sure you see that image. And there's a reason they're going to make sure you see that image, because the GOAT is important to the devil. There are some depictions, and we really don't want to know what Satan looks like, to be honest with you. But he may have hooves or some kind of appearance that is likened to a beast such as a goat. And so the wicked world systems and entertainments and advertisements are going to use the goat, either the image or that word, in some way to keep it in your mind. They're going to put it in kids programming. They're going to put it everywhere. And there's obviously a good reason for that. That is just one of the two aspects of GOAT that I'm thinking of in this hour. That was the type of goat that goes alongside the sheep. The goat's going to be on the left hand, the sheep going to be in the right hand of the Lord. The sheep are going to be with the Lord in righteousness and pleasure for all eternity, and the goats are going to be cast into the fire. But there's another picture of the goat that many people know about. That is the Baphomet, and some people describe it as a half male, half female, half beast kind of creature. Well, that's three halves, so that kind of doesn't match up. But it's a half human, half beast. It's male, female mixed, plus some animal or creature mixed in with it too. It's an androgynous being, as they call it. You don't really know what it is. And this is another aspect of the goat that the devil is trying to bring down on this world, which he's pretty much already done. This ambiguous, this abstract kind of person or being that is a mockery or an abomination to what the Lord God himself wants for men and women. And most people in the world right now, they're following right behind that. They're okay with the ambiguity and the confusion of male and female being mixed in every single way, on every level that you can pretty much think of. That's all media and the world is involved in doing right now, is mixing all that up and having you be okay with it. In fact, having you defend it, praise it, teach it to your young people that you have access to. But the Baphomet is a wicked thing. The male-female mixture is a wicked thing. And I understand that some people will take and come up with all kinds of, I don't know, justifications and exceptions to a man being a man and a woman being a woman, to male being male and female being female. But the devil knows what he's doing, and those who follow him willingly or wittingly or unwittingly, the ones who are following Satan on this glorification of this male-female beast thing, goat god, they know what they're doing most of the time. It's right in your face. It's right in our faces, and it's so plain that it's almost like people are blind to it. Such as the character, cartoon or comic book character Wonder Woman or Diana, who is a throwback to an old, as they say, goddess. I always put God or goddess when it's little g in quotations because these are really demons or devil infected people and beings, such as a Wonder Woman. If you actually know your history, and again, this is not new information, but it's almost like people shrug it off that Diana or Wonder Woman is traditionally known as a male-female mixture. Or it's really a male pretending to be a female, or a male who has been transgendered and surgically changed in some old school way. That's what that spirit is. That is Wonder Woman. But it's got movies coming out glorifying it. You know, I grew up reading comic books, but now, long after I stopped doing that, there's an ability to bring these things to life on a big screen in very captivating ways, like a Wonder Woman, which is some kind of person or demigoddess, what have you, that is really neither male nor female. They don't really address that in the comic books and the movies. Oh, and from what I've heard in recent years, they have addressed it a little bit, but they're never going to really come out and tell you what's going on. That this is a totally against God, the real God, and that by it being entertained by it, paying to see it, spending your time talking about whether Wonder Woman will beat up the mighty Thor and all this, you're really displeasure to the Lord. Because you're beholding something, you're excited about something or someone that hates the Lord. And specifically hates Christianity, hates Jesus Christ, hates the Bible. And that's one of the reasons why Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman are called the Trinity of the Justice League. They're called the Trinity for a reason. One of the members of this comic book Trinity is a Baphomet male-female creature that's jumping around swinging a lasso. Now, we already know that we're not going to stop what's happening. This thing is going to play out to the end. The men are being trained to be feminine and still sexualized in some way. The women are being trained and conditioned and indoctrinated to be like males. And they'll say that there's no traditional roles, but everybody's being trained to be the opposite of what their traditional role is. So obviously people do believe that there are roles, differences, characteristics between male and female, or that are different. They just want to twist it up, and they're being influenced by the devil. That's what he does. And one of the things I was talking about with the mask, I think long back in spring of 20, was this idea that the mask helps the confusion of this male-female mixture. The mask help people hide. It helps them deceive people like me who know what God intended a man and a woman to be. And the mask, the COVID has accomplished a lot of satanic bad things for men and women everywhere, for all people. But I know that that's one of them. It helps people hide. You don't know who's behind the mask anymore. You don't know who people are. You don't know what they are. Even professing Christians who are going to answer me at that and say, God is okay with this. With you just being who you are and just choosing who you want to be from day to day or even moment to moment. And some of them who don't know what the Bible even says, even though they've been in church and carrying the Bible, but especially those who don't know anything about the Bible, except the little parts they've chopped up, they'll tell me things like, God never said anything about LGBT or homosexuality or sodomy. And we can go right to Matthew 19, when the Pharisees were asking Jesus Christ, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And the first thing that Jesus said is, have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? It's the first thing he says. And that's before he gets into why Moses suffered to write a bill of divorcement, because people's hearts were hard. Men's hearts were hardened. So Moses, under the inspiration of the Lord, allowed a divorce. But the first thing Jesus Christ said is, he which made them at the beginning made them male and female. That's talking about LGBT. He don't have to use those letters, does he? How much more plain do you want it to be? But that is part of the problem, is that when things are so plain, and the Bible really makes things plain, people act like it's so confusing and it's so abstract and it's nothing but Proverbs and just these crazy weird stories, and you just don't know what you're reading. That's because you think you're smart and you just can't figure it out, so it bothers you. But it's really plain to those of us who understand. You just don't understand. That's why you're confused. That's why you're going to mix it up. You're a man pretending to be a woman pretending to be a man. And you need approval. And you especially need approval from people who are real Christians. It's really the only group that you can't get. But that's the one that you need to force to accept and quote unquote tolerate what's going on with you. You don't even know what's going on with you. Got all these genders in one body. That's what these people are telling themselves. And so they're going to make people famous. Again, people who are influenced by the devil, influenced by hell, influenced by darkness, to make it normal to be confused. They want the children. YouTube is involved, Facebook is involved, all of them. They need the next generation to be okay with this. And for the most part, that is what is happening. These children are being twisted and turned into this. If not doing it, then being okay with it, being nonchalant and just shoulder shrugging about it. That's where we're going. There's really no stopping it. The only thing that I or anyone like me can do is warn a few people at a time. I can help save my family, the people in my church, people that are in my vicinity, my neighbors. Who is my neighbor? Just anybody I have access to. I can help them see. But this is the course of the world. It is going to go where it's going to go, as we say. But we don't have to go with it. I'm not going with it. God helping me. Unless my mind gets afflicted in some way as I get older, I don't have to go with it. I don't have to follow that course. Let them make this normal. Let them joke about it, about boys acting like girls. Let them fight for their equality. This is the Laodicean age. People's rights. The people's rights. People want their rights. They want their privileges. They want to be patted on the back. They want a trophy. They want a cookie. They want you to like them. They want you to accept them. They want to shine and gleam in your eye. They want your attention. They want your money. Really, at the end of it, they want your soul. And they're being influenced by the devil, so you know who's sparked them to be in your face like this. Let them hold on to their pain and fear that's coming out of their confusion. They don't know that's where the pain and fear is coming from, that they're confused, that they've rejected the real God, that they don't want the Lord Jesus Christ. They got a fake Jesus in many cases. They can tattoo all the religious symbols, wear all the crosses. They can go to church and on down the line with that. But until they're born again, until they're regenerated from the ways of thinking that the world's going to put on them, they're lost, they're confused, and they're goats. But there's still time. There's still time for us to cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit and perfect holiness in the fear of God.